Hi, welcome to the small shed. This Saturday we're dealing with chairs, but not the usual sort. See you in a minute. Now, one of my model railway chums got in touch the other day. He wanted to know if I could resin cast some sleepers for him for model railway track. And when I went into it, it was because he wanted to lay a piece of dummy sort of area where they'd lifted the track and just left the sleepers behind. And when we built the layout at Kimball years and years ago, we used sleepering that has got like a wood grain pattern on it, but it's ABS, I think. And we hadn't got any of that left. And so I looked at it a bit closer. They wanted to, this is in the brewery area at the one end of the layout. And I said, well, why, I could do that, but why do that when I've actually got wooden sleepering that is made out of real wood by the 100, if you like. He wanted 40 of these things, and when it's stained and weathered up, it looks far better than the plastic, really. So that was fine. That was, yeah, we could do that. But then of course I had to complicate the issue, and I suggested that if it was a lifted bit of track, what they tend to do is they lift the rail out, and then they undo all of the chairs, which are the little bits that hold the track up, and take those away as well. And what that does, if you've ever seen an old railway sleeper, it leaves like an imprint where the chair was, and a couple of little holes where it had been spiked down. So I thought, it's one of these things that no one will ever see, but we would know it was there. It would be nice to build something that will take a wooden sleeper and imprint in it the two depressions for the chairs and the little holes where the spikes had been put in originally, the bolts to hold them down. So that's the aim for today, really. I think I just want to get a couple of pieces of square plate with slightly rounded corners or something, I think, spaced effectively 32mm apart, and make some sort of a jig to make sure I can do it repeatably in the same place, because you don't want these things wandering all over the place. So that's the task. I've been up in the workroom and got a few bits and pieces. Let's see what we've got. So I've got the piece of track which will act as a datum for whereabouts these things will need to be. I've got, well, boxes of chairs, which are the actual bits that you use if you're actually making the track, like I usually do with wooden sleepers, and then you attach all of these tiny little chairs to a piece of rail, space them out properly and effectively glue them down. So that gives me a size that I need for the impression. And then I've got a box, or my box of metal stock, if you like, for modelling, which is fairly starting to run down a bit now, but over the years I've collected quite a lot of stuff from nickel silver sheet. This is when I was making locomotives rather than buying them. What I need really is a piece that is that width and something perhaps to space it apart, so we'll have a quiet look and see what we've got. There's all sorts of sections in here, from I-beams, L-beams, C-beams, tubes, solid rod, bar, flat bar. I'm sure we can find something in here. I think I've got the genesis of an idea. I've got some square box section that's the same size as a chair, same width as a chair anyway. I haven't got much of it, but I don't need much. If I just cut two pieces that are the length of a chair, I'll just round the corner off very slightly, but I don't think that'll be a problem. I found some flat bar which will fit inside that quite tightly, and that means I can put these two pieces on a piece of flat bar and get them exactly spaced where I want them, and then maybe just dab a solder on just to make sure they don't move. Cut that to length. If I can then solder that to a piece of flat bar, that will give me something which I can put in a vise and it will press down. If I make the jig to just hold that flat bar, that will give me a position where the holes will be, and I think what I'll do then is to router out a channel to drop a sleeper in, so that you can just drop a sleeper in, clamp it into the jig, squeeze it in the vise, take it out, drop another one in, and it's going to be repeatable. Right, that's got the two chair shaped stamps done. Worry about the pins in a minute for the holes, but that slides onto there now like that, and with any luck, that's it. We can now set those two at exactly the right spacing, and as I say, either put a dab of solder or just drill through for the pins. In theory, I don't know, it could be you get 2 fixings, 3 fixings or 4 fixings on these chairs, depending on railway companies and things like that, but I think there is even a limit to my nerdiness on this, so I'll probably just put a couple of pinholes in each one. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to try that out now on a vise, just literally like that. Just see what happens. Excuse the dust all over everything. That's the tailpiece for the Austin 7 cycle cart that's caused all that damage. But if we put those into there like that, and bear in mind at the end of the day I would like to have a jig to do this, but we'll just try it without for a second. Line them up roughly, squeeze it tight like that, and out. Sort of successful, maybe a bit more oomph. Try again, try the other side. That's better. Give me a depression there. Now, it's probably difficult to see that, but I think you can probably just see we have got the two depressions. Obviously it needs to be straightened up and squared up, but I think that will do me. Now for the holder for the sleepers, just going to run I've got some hardwood, a bit of maple on the fretboard bits. Just going to run a cutter down it to that width so that I can just locate that in there, put a couple of stops either end, and once that's in there we can locate exactly where we want this to be. Perfect. So that'll act as a stop as well, so I don't have to worry about putting a stop in there. So all I need to do is line that up and find something like this beech, which is about the right material, I think, height wise. I think that's ready to go. I'm going to get something just as a shim to just act with a bit more push on the back, but we'll go and give it a try in the vise. Right, I put a shim on the back of that piece now. Just put that onto there, hold them together and pop it in the vise and see what we get. Good squeeze. We've got the two indentations we want, very slightly off at the moment, so I might just file that leg very slightly to get a little bit further over, but really I'm very happy with that. That's done exactly what I want it to do, and all I need to do now is get the two little holes sorted on each one with it. Now I'm going to have to admit defeat on the drilling the jig for the pins. The drills I've got, I haven't got anything really suitable that will drill the brass that deep, and the chuck I've got is coming undone. I really could do with a collet chuck. So I'm going to cheat in the old-fashioned way, bearing in mind I need to get these things done, and I'm just effectively going to get a centre punch type scriber and run those in like that, and that's exactly what I want anyway. It's just that I've got to do it 200 times, but that's it. That's all I need to do. That just gives us the two little holes, the recessed area. I'm happy with that. They can go off to be stained and dealt with, so bit of a cop out at the end, but job done. Right, so that's got all the sleepers done and delivered to the Railway Club the other week. I spent about an hour when I was there putting the little pinholes in them. I ended up doing 100 of the sleepers, so I think they've got enough now to get them on and get the bit of line laid. I'll leave it for somebody else to weather and smash them up a bit, make them look a bit used. And as I mentioned earlier, this will probably never actually be noticed by anybody, but I know it's there, we know it's there, and it's just part of getting these things dead right. So I hope the video was of interest. I look forward to seeing you next time. We'll be doing something different. We'll see you then. Bye!